Yeah. All right.
Good evening. We ready?
Yes.
Let me just give you. Good evening.
Good
My name is
evening.
Shafia
My name is
Embalia.
Shafia Embalia.
Hold on, Shafia. You unmuted your. Hold on. Okay.
Should I mute from the computer or the phone?
I just muted you from the computer. You're fine. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. My name is Shafia Embalia, and we welcome you to the fifth in a series of Communiversity Black Women Worker Series campaign. And I'm the director of the campaign, and we're a little bit discombobulated because we've got a serious storm happening that just hit in my area and has not been knocking me on and off.
Okay.
But we're happy that you are joining us, and we are grateful for that.
Man, oh man, I tell you. I'm finally here.
Welcome.
Oh yeah. I tell you. That was a struggle. I don't know. we I guess
Morgan, now, am I unmuted?
uh, you want me to mute?
Yes, let's see. Please do. So what we're going to do,
Is I'm
is
going
I'm
to
going to
ask.
ask.
Why do you keep unmuting yourself?
I'm going to ask Morgan to co-host, take up a little bit more duties because I'm constantly being knocked off. And so I'm going to ask Morgan, our tech person, with the Communiversity, just do backup here. So the Communiversity is a Black liberation institution that is dedicated to helping in the development of leadership and participation of Black workers in the labor movement, as well as in the Black liberation movement. We have been doing a series of webinars, along with beginning to do meetings with Black women workers with the objective of increasing their participation in leadership, as well as their confidence in taking hold of leadership. This series tonight highlights the amazing United Electrical Workers Local 150 and its president. 5 out of 8 of its presidents have been Black women workers. Black women workers active from the workplace for and taking on the mantle of leadership. We have 3 of our past presidents, 2 of which we will all, well, 2 in addition, we will be highlighting them because of sickness they're not able to attend tonight. So first up, and will be, I just want to introduce and name them, is Larcene Taylor. And Larcene Taylor was a past president of United Electrical Workers Union, Local 150, the North Carolina Public Service Workers Union. And when we get to it, she will be doing a highlight about Miss Annie Dove, another president. Annie was unable to join us this evening. She sent her deepest regards, and we will be highlighting Annie's history and the important work that took place during the period of time in which she served. Sakia Royal just stepped down last year, and Sakia Royal is also a past president of the union. And I also want to say that both of these women, all of these women, have held positions of responsibility throughout the union. And thirdly, I want to name Sister Nathanette Mayo. Nathanette Mayo has so many dual roles that she plays, along with within the union and outside the union, as do all of these women. And I'm going to ask them to add some more to their bio so you can get a real picture of them. Nathanette Mayo is a past president of UE 150. And for those of us who were at the successful Southern Workers Action Summit this past weekend, you saw her singing like a bird and leading along with the Fruit of Labor Singing Ensemble. I'm going to ask when each of them have their turn to also say a little bit more about themselves. Nathanette Mayo, however, is going to also talk about Barbara Preier. Barbara Preier was the founding president of the North Carolina Public Service Workers Union. But Barbara, not only was she president at that time, of the founding of the union, but she was also someone who was president along with Nathanette in the long process of building the union. Because the United Electrical Workers Union Local 150 is not a top-down kind of union. And these women will be speaking about that. But what it is that is so special about UE 150, what is so special about UE that has created the foundation that so many women can come forward, are coming forward. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce and have Nathanette come to the fore and speak about Sister Barbara Preier. And then we will move forward to Sister Larcine and then Sister Sakia in that order. Following that, we'll have a little bit of Q&A, a discussion. They've got some questions that we've been kicking around with each other, centered around, how is it and why is it that, women workers who are tech workers in the mental hospital, who are water technicians, who are housekeepers, how did that leadership potential develop? What was it that was in the union and the union drives and the nature of the leadership that brought them forward. So without further ado, Sister Nathanette.
All right, good evening, everyone. Good to be here tonight. I guess I will talk about Sister Barbara first, and then Larcine, and then myself again, because I came right after Larcine, I believe. So Sister Barbara Preier was certainly active long before she became a part of UE 150 because the housekeepers at UNC Chapel Hill had been organizing because of first low wages, but also unequal treatment in terms of unfair grievance procedures. There was different grievance procedures for the frontline worker housekeepers than for the rest of the workers on the UNC campus. So there was a big fight to gain equity and some justice with their grievance procedure there. And the housekeepers had also filed a lawsuit. The housekeepers on UNC Chapel Hill's campus were mainly Black women, had filed a lawsuit because they were tired of being treated as second-class citizens, racism and how the jobs were assigned, how they were paid, the inequity in pay, the benefits. And certainly they were on the forefront of leading the charge to get right to meet and confer and discuss workplace issues with the chancellor of UNC at that time. Barbara Preier became associated with UE 150 when she came to speak at the Consolidated Diesel Company Workers Unity Committee at a MLK, their yearly MLK celebration in Bloomer Hill. And then Barbara and Marcia and some of the other UNC housekeepers became active in the North Carolina Public Service Workers Organization, which was being formed at that time in 1997, 1996, 1995. And at that time, we were looking at which national union we wanted to affiliate with, whether it be CWA, SEIU, the AFSCME, UAW, or UE. And as you can see, eventually we ended up with UE because we felt that UE certainly was the union that had the same ideals that we had in terms of worker rank and file leadership, or worker rank and file run union. So Barbara and the housekeepers associated with first the North Carolina Public Service Workers Organization, and then also decided to become a part of UE. And in 1999, we had a organizing blitz that went across the UNC system. So we looked at housekeepers across the UNC system. We looked at some of the grad students, some of the laborers there, maintenance workers there. And so there was an effort to organize those workers on those campuses across the state, because what affects one campus affects the other campus. And there was certainly a need to organize on a mass scale those workers there. So in July 30th through August 2nd of 1998, we had the founding convention of UE 150. And Sister Barbara Preier, because of the long time work that she had been involved in, the leadership role that she had taken across the state in building the beginnings of UE and also building the housekeepers organization, she was elected the first president of the statewide UE 150 North Carolina Public Service Workers Union, and I happened to be elected the vice president at that time too. So the first, the first convention, there were 2 Black women who were leading this union, and I think it's pretty indicative of the type of organization. When you say rank and file led, and you look at communities where Black women were coming out of, the associations that we had with communities, and a lot of the leadership in those communities is simply Black women. So there's a history there of Black women knowing what work needed to be done and knowing that we had to take up our role as leaders in doing that work. So Sister Barbara was elected to 2 terms, 2 2-year terms of our union. So from 1999 through 2002, Barbara was the president of the statewide president of UE 150. And during that time, there was a lot of organizing of campus workers, but also the Department of Health and Human Services. There was a workers' dignity campaign with the UNC workers. There was a grievance campaign, grievance fairness campaign. And in essence, a march was led up to the chancellor's office and the state legislator's office to talk with some of the legislative representatives about just the wages of workers, the low wages of workers on the lowest bottom rung of university workers, and also this grievance procedure. And like I said, meet and confer was one with the chancellor of UNC system, and also the wages were raised for all of the lowest paid workers across the state. They were very effective in raising the wages up to I think they got about a $4,000, $6,000 raise across the board for the lowest paid workers. This was the first time that had ever happened, and it would not have happened if the UNC or the campus housekeepers had not organized. So in essence, when you lifted up the lowest paid workers, majority Black women workers, we raised up the salary for all of the workers across the whole UNC system. So Sister Barbara was very instrumental in that, and very instrumental in going across the state and raising the concerns and speaking out, and was not afraid to get in somebody's face to talk about, how workers were being treated, and also encouraging workers, and particularly women workers, to stand up, to fight, and to take up our mantle as leaders in our union. So I guess that's a lot of things happened, during the first World Social Forum, took place during her tenure as president. And so we were able to send representatives to that. Also, the building alliances internationally. She was certainly active in helping to do that, with Mexican workers. We won some NLRB cases at Consolidated Diesel Company while Barbara was president during that term too, and also just the Department of Health and Human Services Council formed the State of Emergency campaign, and that was under her tenure to the beginning and forming of that campaign. So there was a lot that Sister Barbara did to encourage the growth of this union, and to fight for the needs of working class, the lowest paid among us and the most mistreated among us. She was certainly a strong voice for that. So we certainly appreciate all that she did to begin to put UE 150 on the map.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Shafia, there you go.
The host would like you to unmute your microphone. You can press star for mute.
Hey, thank you so much, Nathanette, for your words and stories and encouragement. I'm Autumn. I'm here with my mom, Shaquille, and I just was wondering, what's up with Barbara and the organization these days? Is there anything that we can boost or support online to support that union, or that that union?
Well, the workers on the UNC campus are still active. They have a graduate chapter that's active too, and that is working with so there's a graduate chapter, and then there's a chapter of still housekeepers, hospital workers, landscaping maintenance workers. All of them are still active. Certainly, with the cuts in the higher education here, the university system in North Carolina, certainly there is always support that's needed in terms of being able to get to workers, to talk to workers, to help with organizing workers, because with the cuts, that means you don't have enough workers to do the job that needs to be done. So people are stretched, and people are working 2 or 3 jobs because the inflation has gone up and the cost of living has gone up. But our wages here in North Carolina, the state, even though there's a $15 minimum wage, it's still not enough for people to be able to provide for their families on. So they're still having to work 2 jobs or 2.5 jobs to provide a decent living for their family. So there's still a need to help when we do legislative lobby days, when we get out on campuses and try to talk with workers, try to find out exactly what those issues are and what we need to be doing as a statewide organization, and pulling other housekeepers from other universities together, because when we find that the problems are the same from university to university to university, but you have much more power when everybody comes together to fight.
Yeah.
So
we're here in Georgia, so I'm wondering what it's looking like here.
Yeah, because I can say a little bit. I don't know much right now, but the United Campus Workers of Georgia, They do sometimes like have like a phone tree. So I feel like if y'all have like a phone blitz, like at least a couple of the organizers could probably help out, I hope. Because there's a lot that needs to happen with like getting, it's a wall-to-wall union, but you know, of course, like housekeepers, maintenance people, like they sometimes have to work multiple jobs and consider, do I even want this job enough to fight for it like that? So it helps to have, you know, extra people on the phones. If that's like capacity that's needed, like I can try to contact with my mom to try to link y'all, because they're cool people. It's like 1,000 members, but like, you know, maybe like 50 are active, but I'm like, that's still a good active membership. And I know that they've done blitzes like around the South before to try to help people get organized in their context. So if they can help call for like your members and your people, and like that would be super cool. I don't know about like how our union is doing with wall-to-wall stuff, like, and I would love for them to be like approached like, hey, like we're organizing, like what are y'all doing for housekeepers in your union? Like,
So that would be good, just sharing strategies and sharing stories.
strategies too.
And
They just don't know.
Somebody has their hand
Yeah.
up.
Sorry about the hand up. Yeah, you can mute me.
Okay, thank you.
Let's see. I see Hung, you have a question?
Hi, good evening. This is Hua. I'm a rank and file member of UE Local 150 at NC State University chapter. Came here through invitation from fellow comrade Sikio.
And like,
So I do want to bring up the point, a couple of things I was about organizing in my experience with organizing with the housekeeping staff at NC State. One, I definitely like the idea of phone tree. I feel like we may need to go back into doing calling people instead of relying on emails to make sure they get the message. The other thing I was thinking about, and this is a challenge I run into, I don't know if y'all have, is people have a tendency to go right to the HR, the lawyers, or other kind of established institution for help with if they encounter a problem at their workplace before consider joining a union. Just wondering what are some strategies that you all have used to like break people out of that mindset and instead more on like building power with each other.
Okay, thank you very much. Shafia, can you hear me?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, there you are.
All right. So we have to take the computer off. Let's try that.
Is your phone is on mute?
What we would like to do,
You're good. Go ahead.
see, I think the gremlins are out tonight. Is there reverberation that can be heard on the Zoom?
No.
Okay, I hear too. So what we would like our participants to do this evening is to hold their questions or put them in the chat until all of the workers have a chance to present. And then we will have a time for Q&A. And we want to put, qualitative time into that. So we ask you if you would hold your questions or your comments, and we will definitely get to them. I think Nathanette, were you finished in terms of Barbara? Yes, okay. Sister Larcene Taylor,
Yes. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My spiel on Annie kind of ties in with Barbara because you hear the vibration?
Yes, I am hearing an echo.
Okay. Because Annie and I both joined the union in 2001, and at that time, Barbara Preier was the president of the union. We come out of DHH division, and I want to say about Barbara, uh, the very first, after, getting in the union stuff, our very first convention uh, in Pittsburgh, um, I was walking up to speak on a resolution as a delegate. And on the way up there, the president, who was John Hovis, says, Barbara Preier is coming to speak on the resolution. So I get to the podium and I said, I know you say we all look alike, but my name is Larcene Taylor. I'm not Barbara Preier. And I never let him forget that he made that boo-boo. But anyway, and then my next encounter with Barbara and Annie as well was when we had our first rally and march. Barbara came down I live in Goldsboro, which is about 60 miles from Durham. She came down to participate in the rally. A very, very good speaker. And her main thing was that we needed throughout the state, as far as UNC workers and GHH workers and everybody, that we need solidarity because it was impacting all the workers, not just one group of workers. She was very, very powerful in that statement. Um, with Annie, like I said, we joined UE at the same time, and I think we had a lot of organizing, but trying to build up the union, which we did a pretty good job. And I think of interest, a real good point was when we formed the International Worker Justice Campaign. That was very exciting because at that time, our biggest problem was we were denied collective bargaining rights. So we were trying to get that General Statute 9598 repealed. So we started doing all things we could do to make that happen and stuff. And during Annie's tenure in the union, she served as president of the Oberry chapter. She served as vice president and president of the statewide local. She also served as the recording secretary for the local. Um, so that's about all I can say about that right now. Uh, so did you want me to go into myself now, or how you want to do that, Shaw? Talk to me now.
Yeah, I think
so
the
both you and Annie were also in leadership when the union took the state of North Carolina to the United Nations and to the International Labor Organization. Is that true?
Yes, that's true. Like I said, that was all that was part of IWJC. All those things we done up under that were to get collective bargaining. It was a it was an exciting time and stuff, and it took a lot of work, but it was we learned a lot of lessons and it was good work. That's what union building is all about. You got to have that solidarity. You got to work together. Yeah.
So maybe we can ask both of you, what was the significance of the International Labor Organization and the judges coming and touring North Carolina?
So they could see
Because that was
racism.
part of Annie's tenure as well, but that was a major
Yes, it
and
snatched
very
the cover off
unique
of snatched the cover off and shined the light on how
challenge.
yeah, it snatched the cover off and shined the light on how crooked the state of North Carolina is. And they were denying us our basic rights, you know. But it really didn't do no good. They still wouldn't repeal it. So. Ned probably got something to say about that.
So now we'd like to just move into some of the other questions that have to do with you all as Black women workers. Sakia spoke about it a little bit. What was it about UE that helped your leadership come forward? All of you together, because you were all at one point working together.
So I would
What-
say
what-
too that
Okay, yeah.
it was UE, we were all together in UE, but I think UE pushed us all to be much better leaders in the organizations that we were part of, in addition to UE, because we all, belong to community organizations. I belong to the Shiloh Coalition for Community Control and Improvement that was dealing with environmental racism in our communities. And, Larcene can speak for herself, but she's very involved in her community. Everybody was involved in something else, and it certainly made us tie the connections between what we were doing in our other areas of leadership and the other organizations we belong to what was happening in UE. And when we talk about collective bargaining, Larcene was talking about collective bargaining, that those connections that we had with community allies certainly helped in us getting changes in our specific workplaces, but also pushing out the need for collective bargaining for public employees, because there were a lot of rallies, there were a lot of, going to visit legislators, there was a lot of
Right.
press conferences where the community came, picket lines where the community came to support us. And I think that the state, well, I know the legislators was beginning to take seriously
Yes.
our call for repealing of 9598, which disallowed collective bargaining, to the point where even some resolutions were placed on the floor. Certainly they weren't approved, but they were placed on the floor because of the pressure that was made. And still, we have legislators who are supporting, the call for repeal of 9598 today. And I think that pressure has come because of the alliances we've built and the consistency of UE 150 pushing for those changes.
I would add to that before the union came, I didn't even realize I was in a right to work state. UE was so educational for me, and I'm the type of person that I don't like to see anybody mistreated, and it just gave me the pen can write and do some things. It's a mighty tool, and I really appreciate the experience that I gained from being in the union, and then it also allowed me to travel places I never thought I would travel, to Japan and Mexico. And when you get to those places, you find out that everybody all over the country, everybody got problems. But when you can talk with the other country and about your situation and their situation and find something in common that could help you, it's just so rewarding. And once I got in the union, then I got into other things I joined BWFJ, and as Nathanette said, now I'm into environmental stuff, and it's just the work is never done. You just got to keep pushing to make this world a better place. And when it comes to basic human civil rights, this world is just in a mess. My mission now is we need clean drinking water, be able to breathe clean air, and have the ground that we walk upon, for that not to be contaminated with all these toxins and stuff like that. I'm just Anyway, the union has structured me to be a fighter for what's right, what's basic human rights, and I do appreciate that. Let me hear you, Shakia.
Yes, ma'am. I thought Miss Nathanette was gonna go over her presidency before I got called to the carpet.
I can do it really quickly if you like.
Take your time, take your time.
So I was president of UE for 2 terms between 2014 and 2018. Um, and during that time, with all the other stuff that was going on, the collective bargaining fights, the dignity fights on UNC campuses, the sick and tired of being sick and tired campaigns at DHHS, there was the mental health brokers bill of rights going
Right.
on, and also the municipal council being formed during that time, and fighting for the municipal workers bill of rights also. And in addition to that, there was the campaign, the heat safety campaign throughout the cities across North Carolina, because a lot of the public workers in municipalities, in public utilities, uh, highway workers were out working in hot conditions, overheated conditions, with heat index values of 105, 108, and people were getting sick. We had a worker in Charlotte who came home after working about 14-hour day in the hot sun and died. So there was a push to get some consistent heat and safety regulations and policies throughout cities across North Carolina. So we were working with that at that time. A number of cities adopted some heat safety policies, and we used the municipal council to come together for workers to talk and to develop their own demands that they made that were consistent from city to city to city, and what we felt was needed for people to have health and safe jobs, healthy and safe jobs. And during that time, we also went to the Southern Human Rights Conference, and were able to meet workers from the Nissan manufacturing plant down in Mississippi, and walked the line with them, and they were fighting for union recognition of their local, or of their organizing to form a union at that plant. So just talking with them about, how we are here in North Carolina, and whether we get a union vote or not. If we say we're a union, then we're a union, and we're gonna act like a union, and we're gonna fight like the Dickens for what it is that workers need, whether it be changing policies, whether it be health and safety, whether it be equitable pay, whether it be insurance, benefits and insurance, that claim it and name yourself and claim it, and don't let anybody tell you that any differently, regardless.
Mhm.
Also, we had a municipal workers summit in Greensboro. We had a fight in the city of Durham to stop the city from spending $81 million on a new police headquarters. And we also were able to build the Durham Workers Assembly. During that time, we were beginning to build workers' assemblies in our different areas where our members were. So we had Durham, we had Greensboro, the Triad, down east. Those workers' assemblies were starting to form. And also, a number of graduate worker chapters became reactivated during that time also. And lastly, we did win a $15 minimum wage for state employees during those years too. So a lot was taking place. A lot of changes were built on, the work that had come before, and we passed it all over to Sakia, who continued.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Good evening, everyone. And my name is Sakia Royal, and I'm a state health worker in the city of Goldsboro. I worked along with Miss Larcine, well, not along with her, but I worked around the same time, different departments in the DHHS system. And I joined UE back in 2016. And I just want to say I really appreciate the leadership of Miss Larcine Taylor and Miss Nathanette Mayo. I had not had an opportunity to meet the other two fierce leaders. Those are big shoes to fill. They had a lot going on, a lot of things that brung UE 150 to where it is, today. And so again, I joined the union back in 2016, and Miss Larcene and Miss Nathanette made sure I got to work quick, right? And so in 2018, when Miss Nathanette stepped down from her position, I became the statewide vice president under Mr. Bryce Carter, which was a city worker out of the city of Durham. But and it was a lot going on in 2018. So fast forward to 2020, when I stepped up to be the president for our local from 2020 to 2024, into 25. I served 2 terms, and that was during a trying time because we all know it was during the middle of this brand new thing that nobody knew about, the pandemic. And so workers were getting sick, and we were kind of just thrown into this, all of a sudden, didn't get a chance to get your feet wet. And it was when one of the first 2 people in our state of North Carolina passed away from this COVID-19 virus. He was a city worker in the city of Raleigh, North Carolina. He was a past member, but at that time. And so us as 150, as forward-thinking union that I would love to think that we are. I've never really been a part of unions until I was, but throughout these years, I will say that UE is a union that is very forward-thinking with the top down, rank and file members. We run our union. We decide what fights we're going to fight and what our workers need, because we serve such a vast type of workers here in North Carolina. All the fights are different. So, the pandemic happened, and the workers passed away, and so we decided as 150 that we were going to launch, our Safe Jobs, Save Lives campaign. And it was a campaign because the cities and the state hospitals, they hadn't even talked about or thought about, how they were going to keep these workers safe, right? Every place were shutting, restaurants were shutting down, nursing homes were infected. It was bad. A lot of people were passing away at that time, and so Miss Nathanette and a few of our other leaders, they decided that they were going to have our press conference and launch our Safe Jobs, Save Lives campaign, and calling to the carpet the members of the legislation and the members of the cities to see how we were going to keep our workers safe. And so, throughout that time, we launched campaigns, and we got our workers hazard pay. We got them safety equipment. We were able to force some of the organizations that and with hospital workers and state workers, they deemed us frontline employees, right? They coined this thing to make us try to feel special, and they were not supporting us or protecting us. And so that was, that campaign lasted a couple of years, because as we know, the pandemic is still kind of lingering around. And so it was a lot of work. It was a lot of protecting people, but we did win a lot of campaigns to get people hazard pay, get people the proper equipment that they needed. And fast forwarding throughout that, we did a lot of fighting with the DHHS for raises. And as Ms. Nathanette said, that in 2017, they won a raise for the DHHS workers. But, when the pandemic came and left, and they had to hire all these outside agencies and paying them twice the pay that they were paying the dedicated workers that had been in the state for a long period of time. That was another campaign that we had to, fight with the legislators about. And so, and even with the 95-98, we are still fighting. They talked about when Miss Barbara Preier took on, that that statute was in place in Jim Crow. And for the last 25, 27 years that 150 has been in existence, we are still fighting that fight. You know, workers coming together, trying to get what we deserve. And like they said, you know, the cost of living is astronomical. Our workers can't even afford to live in the cities that they serve and that they work, you know. And so here recently, I want to say our Charlotte City workers, they just won their $25 minimum wage campaign for this city budget. The city workers are still in Greensboro, they're still doing their work. DHHS workers, we're still fighting that fight, and with our Republican legislators, we probably won't be able to win these fights, you know, but we still continue to fight. It was a lot of big things that happened in those 4 years that I had the privilege of being this UE's president here in 150. We had one of our long-standing comrades that helped build this local union pass away during that time, Brother Saladin Muhammad. And in his honor, UE decided to name our blitzes behind him, you know, getting workers together. And so in 2024, top of 2024, we launched our first Saladin Muhammad Blitz, and we collected over 300 names. And I don't want to lie about the statistics of how many members we got, but it was a beautiful blitz, you know, accompanied by some of our other leaders across our UE, you know, coming from the university systems, some of our friends up in Boston and what is that, Pittsburgh, you know. So I've learned, and like they said, I know I'm sounding like I'm rambling right now, but UE has taught me a lot. UE has taught me a lot about being a leader, about being an organizer, about bringing people together, you know. And it's a lot of times, you know, we at work and we have our heads down and we're working and we're just trying to get to the finish line, right? And we know the things that are happening to us are necessarily not fair. We know we earn those raises that they refuse to give us, you know. And just being able to come together and talk with workers, and sometimes you have to educate them on that they're being mistreated, right? You know, you don't know if you don't know, right? And so just having those conversations and talking with people and bringing them together and making them understand, you know, what their rights are and what they're entitled to. And, you know, it's just, I don't know, it's just such a fulfilling experience and a fulfilling feeling to help a person that felt like they were helpless, to help a person fight that didn't believe in the fight, you know. So, and like I said, I've learned a lot with UE. I've learned a lot from these two women and the paths that they set. And so like I said, I just appreciate the time and the space to be able to share with y'all a little bit about that.
Good job. And just so you know, Takia,
Yes, ma'am.
when we were going to the up to Raleigh for the more money. Anyway, you know how Starling would meet us?
Yes, ma'am.
He spoke on your growth. How you know? And I said, yeah, she coming right along, Sarah. She coming right along.
I
So
appreciate that.
yes, I want you to know.
Look, I know when Mr. Saladin would call me, if I missed the call immediately, I'd have to check my email. Okay, did I do this, what I told him I was going to do? I had to make sure I had everything in order because, you know, Brother Saladin was going to keep you in check.
Yes,
But, I mean, he was a great leader. And, I mean, I've learned so much from you all, the Trailblazers of 150. So I thank y'all.
You're more than welcome. Our pleasure.
You know, what amazes me about a lot of the women in UE 150 is just the courage
Oh,
that
yes.
we have.
Yes.
If we want workers to not be scared, then we can't be scared.
Yeah, right.
If we want them to stand up, then we have to stand up. If we want them to be excited, we have to be excited. And I think that those are traits that all of the women who served as in leadership capacity in our union are certainly characteristics that they all have.
Yeah, that reminds me too of the first assembly we had here in Goldsboro when we had Representative Larry Bell to come and speak. It was him and a couple of other probably be important people. But anyway, so my picture was on the front page of the newspaper the next day in my little red UE suit and stuff. And people talking about, "Won't you ain't you scared you gonna get fired or whatever?" I said, "Honey, look, they put their drawers on the same as I do, one leg at a time. I ain't got nothing to be ain't got nothing to be scared of. Nope. No. Yeah, one leg at a time. I tell you, we've had some struggles, and progress ain't made without struggles. But I think we've been up to the challenge. We've given our best, and that's all I ask of anybody, any young or seasoned, woman, give your
That's right,
best.
Miss Farsi. I just wanted to speak on that. What really gave me, the courage and the reason why I joined 150 is because they had fired one of our co-workers and you all had a rally on the town hall steps down in Goldsboro. And that was the day I
Hmm.
joined, right? But what
Right.
really fueled me to keep going is the audacity or I don't know, the nerve of the bosses to when you question them, you know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
They had the look at you like, who are you to question us or try to reprimand you for calling them out on their mess, right? And so that
Hmm.
just gave me the fuel to keep going.
There you go. In it to win it.
And I think one of the things that we did in the city of Durham was whenever we did a grievance or whenever we had a complaint about management, we always put forward the kind of punishment we think that they should receive. Like they need to be written up, or they need to be fired, or they need to be demoted, rather than them always saying, what needed to happen to the workers. We pass judgment on them and certainly let them know that, if you were a rank and file worker like we were, something would happen to you. So we're saying you need to face the same punishment that we would face.
Mhm.
So we will always call for somebody to be fired or disciplined.
I'd like to say on behalf of Barbara, she was at that same rally I was talking about, that one thing that Reverend Barbara said was, we call it, I got a copy of that tape. I think I left it anyway, but it's the 3 R's. You have a right to join a union, you have a reason to join the union, and you have a responsibility to join the union. And that has stuck with me ever since. I do have a right to belong to a union. And the reason is because they missing over people, you know? And it's my responsibility to do all I can do to make it right. Just that simple to me. And I've been doing it ever since. And I've been retired now for 9 years, but it ain't stopped me from doing so many other things that, you know. So
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. Just a few quick questions from Shafia. What role has patriarchy played in your activism? This is for all three of you.
Well, for me, I think it's important to we had a pastor in my church that told my father that he needed to learn to control the women in his family. So for me, it's been a need or a drive to make sure that to show women in leadership and show that women can lead, that we can strategize, that we can take control, that we can build campaigns, that we can push something to victory, and that we can build alliances, and that we can show that we don't have to defer to a man to make the decision, but we can all come together and arrive at the decision that needs to be made. But and women are more than capable of doing that too.
yeah, like I say, I don't know. I'm never taken a back seat to any man. I mean, I do what I gotta do. It's kind of like just that simple. For me, anyway, I put it that way.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I was raised by a village of strong women, and we never really stopped and asked for permission, maybe a forgiveness, but so that's where it comes from as far as me, the women that raised me, and you know, it's not about getting something you don't deserve or whatever. You all I'm asking is for what's due to me,
There you go.
and I can't accept anything less.
Awesome. And follow-up is how union sisterhood could spread throughout or with other women workers.
So I mean, it's always about us reaching back and pulling other sisters forward, encouraging sisters to be active, encouraging and making sure that they have the things in place that are needed that don't deter them from being active too. We used to have childcare, made sure when we needed childcare, we had childcare at our union meetings, and women would bring their children to our union meetings, and we would give certificates to the children because sometimes the children attended more meetings than the other members attended. So just making it possible for women to be as active as they can be. And making sure we're encouraging, them to take on grievances, to speak at rallies, to go and talk to their coworkers, build relationships with the other sisters on their jobs.
Yes. Yes, I think all women have leadership in them. Some has to be kind of like massaged to work them out, and some of them are just like Salting would often say about myself, that I was a natural born leader. When he first met me, all this kind of stuff. Some people have those kind of things going on, but just to encourage them, start out with something small, pass out a flyer or leaflet or petition or something, just to get them involved, and they'll sooner or later they'll morph into the butterfly or the fierce lion, warrior that they are. It's it can happen. Look at Zakia. She just come right on out. Yes, she did.
And I think, and like you said, as Black women, we don't have a choice but to be, right? And I believe more of my generation, well, not my generation, I'm being a little generous, but the generation up under me, in this new workers, because the pandemic brought out a new set of workers, different skill set and different mindset. These young people are not having it. They'll quit right now. We were looking into trying to build futures for our families and blah 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 blah. Getting longevity in the job, and they're just not having it. And so I guess getting back to community with women, because these jobs, they kind of frame it to where there's only room for one of y'all, or there's only room for a few of y'all, right? And so there goes the fighting among and trying to outdo, those type of things. So just getting back to community and talking with women, and making them understand that what the bosses are actually trying to do, and making them understand that we're more powerful together.
There you
So
go. Yes. Solidarity, got it.
they, they keep us, just as workers, they keep us pitted against each other, the housekeepers against the landscapers and whatever. And they're going to promise these particular people this position if they, and it's always an offense to the rest of us what they have to do to, kind of get there. So I've watched the state do it for so long, and it's just women getting back together with each other, and knowing that we're stronger together.
Yes.
And understanding too that it's easy to just quit a job and leave, but you're gonna run into the same problems wherever you
There
go.
you go.
So to stand and fight wherever you
Stay and
are,
stick. Yeah. Stick and stay.
stand and fight.
Mhm.
Just kind of as a quick follow-up, would you speak to the when you talked about the house kind of playing each other, like playing the workers against each other? Can you talk a little bit about how they're also, or even us as people, are playing, you know, like man versus women, getting put against each other?
Yeah, I think particularly in non-traditional um, jobs, you know, in sanitation workers, women being drivers on the trucks, in public works, women being the people going down in the hole and putting the pipes in. There, you know, tended to be, and I guess it still is too, you know, women being out doing CDL, driving the big trucks and the land movers, the excavators, the dump trucks. There's still a fight that has to take place there in terms of women fighting to have access to those jobs and fighting to make the same pay as the men who are working in those jobs. And those are, you know, some of the issues that UE has taken up over the years too. Um, we've certainly made progress. I know we made some progress in the city of Durham, but it still exists. Um, so it's important. Um, I think the women in leadership roles helps some of the brothers who were tending to have some kind of sexist views in terms of what women can do and what we're capable of. Uh, Women being in those non-traditional jobs and doing well in those jobs and talking junk to the best of them and not standing for any kind of differential treatment. I think that has helped, you know, some of the folk who may have been uh, certainly talked down to women and stand back and take another step back and look at, you know, wait a minute, this is a different kind of sister coming along these days. They can stand toe to toe with us. So I think it helps. You know, some of the campaigns that we've been involved in, the leadership of women has certainly helped brothers, men see that we're much more than capable of doing the job. What do you think, Sakia?
I was saying, what you guys would add anything?
Agree with everything Miss Nathanette said. Some of the non-traditional jobs, we still tend to have more pushback than most, right? And it's just, and I just have to go back to the fact of the the situations that the bosses are creating, right? You know, because now that we're not in such a chauvinistic world, you know what I mean? It's still that, you know, underlined fear of, you know, they don't want to lose their jobs and they definitely don't want to lose it to a Black woman, right? Um, yeah, so I just feel like there's still some things there, but like you said, standing tall, and not backing down from, you know, that's what I see of a lot of the women workers these days. You know, unlike my grandmothers and you know those they were a little less boisterous in their opinions, you know what I mean? You know, just in traditional and how time goes. And so I think with the the uprising of, you know, the women workers and being in those traditional jobs are, you know, they're getting more of those non-traditional jobs. I think that it has came a long way. It's definitely still there though.
Okay, Miss Taylor, if you have anything you want to add, not, we're gonna go to a short music break.
No, because I ain't worked now in 9 years, so you know, it's all it's all good to me.
Awesome. So we're gonna go to
Oh,
a
can I
short.
say, I used to have this sign on my wall at work that said, I want to be the kind of woman that when I wake up in the morning and my feet hit the floor,
Uh,
the devil says, oh,
Oh,
hell,
here she
she's
here
awake.
she Here she comes again. Yeah.
So those are the kind of sisters that we want to pull to UU150.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
right. That's right.
Yes. Right.
And Gaza Stack.
A comment. Oh, they're taking comments at the end.
Yeah.
No, this is not a comment.
Oh, okay.
I just think that it's very important that we don't leave out the role that all of our sister presidents and leaders played, pushing for the Young Activist Program in the National Union, also the Leadership Staff Development Project, when we didn't have any Black staffers at all, let alone Black woman staffers. And finally, right now, there's a big push for our rank and filers to support a slate that's running for national office that will be supporting one of the first slates that has had a woman staffer who's been around for 20, 30 years um, as one of our national leaders. This is a role that many of the women leaders in our union have played over the last couple of decades. And I don't think we should overlook that.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We're gonna take a quick, 4-minute break or something like that, and after that, we will do Q&A and comments.
I'd rather sit home on my back. Sleep in the back track. Take our breath. Yeah. If you came from yourself, I'd rather sit home. On my back. Got the hell coming back side. I work for you. Treat it like trash. You know we can't tell we pride. Put up on the shelf. If you can't work the scale, then do it yourself. We work hard with the bills, Monday through Friday. The nourish babies and two, I will make that great. Find around and say, ain't nothing wrong. Oh, what's gonna black women, kind of run those. We must woman come in, try to stop our lows. If we give her the best, they gonna let her go. The time she get the line, she lost the mind. Bessie was fired, left the smack again tired. We said Betsy got to go, we chose to hit the door. Got that pocket book and left out of the picture like this. Because we cry, up shit on and how the hell on we side and we But I want to be treated like though we rather at home. Got to help on we backside. I work for you. Treat it like trash, treat it like trash. You know we can't get we right. And then we buy. Put up on the shelf, put them on the shelf. If you can't work a spare, if you can't work a spare, do it yourself. So we work hard with the bills, Monday through Friday, to nourish babies in school. I'm gonna make that great. All fine around they say, ain't nothing wrong. Oh, what's in the black women, kind of run no slow. Once woman come in, try to stop our close. If we give our dreams the best, they gonna let her go. That's not you get the line. She lost the mind. Bessie was fired. Left the spot again tied. We saw Betsy got to go, but she will hit the door. Of the pocketbooks and left her. Don't look at the look yourself because we got well shit home and count the hell on the way backside and we but I want to be treated like that. You know we rather stay at home. Got the help on way backside. That worked for you. Treat it like trash, treat it like trash. You know we can't take it right. And then we buy. Let's put up on the shelf, put them on the shelf. If you can't work a spare, then do it yourself. If you can't work a spare, then do it yourself. If you can't work a spare, then do it yourself. Do it yourself.
All right. We are back. Let's open up the floor for Q&A. Can raise your hand. I can unmute you. You can leave it in the chat. I'll read it out for you.
I just wanted to go ahead. I know Wah from the UNC system, NC State, had a question about how to engage the housekeepers and landscapers on their campus. And I do appreciate the offer of the phone banking and the idea of phone banking, but just getting out and talking with workers, right? Engaging them, letting them know about our union. A lot of times we feel like we're visible, right? But it may be to people that, that don't necessarily always see us. And so you just have to get out and talk to people and talk about their work area and what the issues are and, engage them in that kind of way is how we always tend to find a new group. I don't know if Miss Nathanette and Miss Larcene have anything to add. I'm sure.
Yeah, that's the best way. You have to ask the question, what what obstacles or struggles are they having, kind of like doing a survey, and then bring them together and see what we want to do about fixing it, making it right. But relationship building, interaction is definitely a must. That's the thing about COVID that hurt us. There was no more intimacy. You look at a little square box like you're looking in now, you lose that. You got to have that contact. You got to, be. Yeah.
That's right. And create a get together situation on agitating a issue that's already on campus,
Right.
and that'll get people coming and wanting to have conversations as well. I'm sorry, Miss Nathanette.
Yeah, and I was saying then they got to see you more than one time. I mean,
Yes. Yeah.
you got to come back every week, every month.
Yeah.
You just can't show up one time, get a name and number,
Stop it. Right.
and
Yeah.
talk for 3 minutes, and then that's it. But you got to continuously come back.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a
Steady
follow-up.
flow.
Yeah. Oh, so go ahead. I have a follow-up question in the sense of like, would you say social media has helped or hurt the movement in terms of gathering people and getting the messages out?
If you're using it in addition to, as a supplement to the primary means of contacting folk, the face-to-face interaction with folk, then I would say no. If you're using it instead of, then yes. I think you've got to see it as a supplement, not the main way of staying in touch and getting in touch with people.
Totally agree with Nathanette on that one. Totally. Yeah.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean, and it's definitely good for, last minute events you want to pull a crowd to, especially a younger crowd. Blasting out on social media helps, but you definitely have to do the work of face-to-face interactions.
Awesome. All right. Hands raised, comments. Got 3 beautiful women up here. You're never going to get this opportunity again.
Bless your heart.
Oh, all right. I see a question. All right, go ahead.
Hey, family, free the land, first of all. Love
Yeah,
you
free the
all.
land. There you go.
Free the land, free the land, free the land.
Free the land.
My question is, I totally agree with you all. And I think it's kind of accountability that happens here where I live in California. When I say all the time, the South is where it's at. And when I say the South is where it's at, it's because people believe to do that social media and to do the things on the Zoom and the tech is all you need to do. Right now, Tiona is on our board, and some of y'all know what we're doing. We're going to 10 cities for the whole month, from Palm Springs all the way to Fillmore, which is San Francisco. And we're doing it to show you can't just be doing techie stuff. We do one-on-ones. We're in the barbershops, beauty salons, soul food restaurants, churches, masjids, and I'm tired, but we still got until July 3rd. And I say the South is where it's at because many of the folk, and I'm talking about our folk, came from the South. But yet there's an amnesia to what this thing is called organizing. So what is your advice to my West Coast folk who really believe the only thing they should be doing is sitting on their butt in the nonprofit office? I'm gonna call them out from LA to Oakland, and them being mad at Mama Alita here, or Sister Alita, or Auntie, whatever you want to call me, because we it's a shaking up. You got to be held accountable when that's all you're doing and getting mad money up. This part of the country, West Coast, they get mad money, but they ain't in the streets. And we trying to teach the youth to be in the street. That's not organizing if you're not doing one-on-ones, if you're not connecting with the people. So what's your advice to our folk that forgot where we came from and what y'all talking about? So much appreciation too.
Well, I think you have to be clear on what it is you're trying to build in the first place. Are you trying to build power? If you're not trying to build power to change a system, then you keep doing it the way that you're doing it. But if you're trying to build power, because sooner or later, the money's going to stop flowing. And if you haven't built organization and power, when the money stops flowing, you're not going to have anything. They're going to be able to take all of us out. But if you're using it to build power and build organization, even when there's no money, people still are active. They still function. They still strategize. They still come up with ways to prevail. So be very clear on what it is you're trying to do in the first place. And if you're very clear on that, then you know that it's going to take a lot more than just the tech. It's going to have to take the one-on-one, because you're going to have to be, you have to be able to count on that person to stand behind you, by you, beside you, behind you, around you. We're all going to have to protect each other and provide for each other.
Power
Just
to
my
the people.
thoughts.
Power to the people. Woo.
Yes, and I see it as watching these ladies and following their footsteps. in the South, it's like it's a necessity, right? This is the only organizing we know. This is the only organizing we can do because we don't have collective bargaining, because we don't have the contracts that others have the luxury of having. We have to get out in the streets and we have to communicate with people and engage and bring in communities and bring in other organizations for support. And so, you know, I hear what Ms. Nathanette and Ms. Larcine are saying, but I always seen it, you know, because I came much, much later. And I've always seen it, you know, just as out of necessity because we have no other tools to get these legislators and these city council members and things to pay attention. We got to get out there and talk loud and stir up some stuff, or we won't make any
Good trouble,
progress.
good
So,
trouble, good
good
trouble.
trouble.
Good trouble, yes, indeed.
Yeah, so, and I guess
Yes.
they have to, I guess, get back to realizing that, you know, in person is just the best way to build, you know, and we're talking about a world of, you know, Zooming and like you said, technology and Snapchatting and Facebook and you know, making stuff go viral. So we gotta make it cool for our fights to go viral, and maybe we can get somewhere on this social media.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right. Questions, comments, hands raised.
Thank you all for that, though. We gonna bring y'all next time to the West Coast so y'all can they got this mamas all over, and so when y'all ready to come through, what's her Shafia, let them come through now.
All right now. Thank you for
Thank
that.
you for that.
Yes.
Awesome, awesome. All right, we got a hand raised from an Yvette Avery.
Okay.
Hello, I just wanted to first come on. I'm Yvette Avery. I am a Teamster UPS driver out of Atlanta working area, but I live in the suburbs. Also the secretary for the treasurer and Southeast Regional Director for the Teamsters LGBTQ plus caucus. Just to see what kind of advice any of the sisters would have, because this coming Sunday, I will be launching my campaign to run for the president of my local here in Atlanta.
Okay.
Because we definitely, I know a lot of people are aware of what's going on with the Teamsters and how our leadership is doing some crazy stuff up in DC. But we also have, you know, I'm one of those who feel that we have to take our locals back one local at a time, all the way up to the top. And so any advice for someone, even though I've run before, but not as for the president role in the past, but just any advice any of the sisters may have on some things I may need to keep at the fore of my mind during this process.
Definitely a clear platform that you're gonna run on. Make it clear, don't be all hostile, make it plain and simple. In a layman's term, you know, what you want to do, how you want this union to go.
Thank you. Definitely on that. Definitely on that.
And agreeing with Miss Larcine, you know, you got to be able to reach the least of us, right? The ones that don't seem like they're heard, the ones that don't seem like they feel like they're represented, you know, fighting for the underdogs has always been my thing. And so if you can reach the people that don't necessarily always have a voice or don't necessarily feel like they're being heard, then you've already, you know, started off on a good foot. Yeah, so that's my advice.
Yeah, so
thank you
reach
much.
them, but also talk to them. And sometimes folk have really good ideas on how they see resolving a concern or issue. So getting all that information and incorporating those, you know, how they see resolving something into your platform too, using those ideas, those good ideas that you get from folk. but definitely a very clear, down-to-earth platform.
Yeah. That'll be.
Okay, looks like we got a question. Is there a UE Women's Caucus? If so, was it hard to organize?
Kia.
The
I think you-
national, we
Yeah.
do have a women's caucus. Unfortunately, it has not been operating. We've had a lot of change and different things with the woman that was actually leading it and organizing it from our national office. No longer works with us, and so amongst a few things that has fell by the wayside. One of the women that was out of West Virginia that was heading it up, I believe she's having some illness. So to say that, yes, but we need to reactivate it. And it wasn't hard to get organized because women, women of Black women, white women of all nature, we were looking for that. We wanted a safe space, which I will say that UE as a whole has made
Provided.
a good platform for women leadership, especially in 150. But it was not hard to form. People were interested. People were excited. Because we had, things that we wanted to discuss and push forward. So yeah, we're just continuing to try to rebuild that.
And on that issue, I had the pleasure of through a Zoom, doing a leadership. We were honoring Florence Creeley, and I was the keynote speaker, and it was very awesome. So that was part of the UE stuff. So that was good. Yeah. And then in my speech, I mentioned people like Nathanette and Barbara Preier and Dana McKeithen, that I had worked with through the union years. So he was very good. And they presented me with a beautiful plaque. You remember that, Sakia? That y'all gave me for my speaking? Anyway, that was good. Did we show pictures at the beginning of this presentation?
We did not. We just got on a roll and we started talking.
Because I was gonna say, I know one of those pictures is me holding that plaque.
Oh, all right, let's go find that.
And so I don't know what all the pictures, because we were sending in pictures of different things. But yeah, got Nathanette singing, Nathanette dancing up at the podium, all kinds of stuff. Me being arrested, hey, we just do what we do.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so we're not gonna keep you guys on forever, but I wanna, do you guys have any more questions, comments? These beautiful women need their beauty sleep. We can't keep them on past 9 o'clock.
Did you say we were going to close out with a few of those pictures?
Yes.
Okay,
we can
great.
definitely do that. Just gonna put them together in a quick slideshow.
Well, I definitely, before we go, I would like to say thank you.
Yes.
I'd like to thank you to Comm University for giving us this opportunity and feature us in such a great way. And again, thank you to Ms. Nathanette, Ms. Larcine, Ms. Barbara, Ms. Annie, to all the great leaders that came before me and paved the way and gave me the blueprint. So I love y'all and I appreciate y'all.
All right.
I love you all too. Thank you all so much.
Yes,
So much.
indeed.
We always learn a whole lot whenever we get together. A lot of you don't realize that you're doing so much work because you don't take the time to really sit back and really examine what it is you're doing. You just know a job needs to be done, so you get out there and do it. But it's good to sit back and to, reminisce and talk with folk about and see just the breadth of what has been done over the years. So I really appreciate you all.
Yes.
Awesome.
All right.
I am an endangered species, but I sing no victory. them song. I am a woman. I am an artist. And I know where my voice belongs. But I sing no victim songs. I am a woman. I am an artist.
See me getting arrested there? Civil disobedience.
Endangered species, but I sing no victim songs. I am a woman. I am an artist. I know where my voice belongs. I am a woman. I exist. I speak my fist, but not mine. Skin is dark, my body is strong. I sing of rebirth, no victim song. I am an endangered species, but I sing no victim songs. I am a woman. I am an artist. I know where my voice belongs. They touch my steps, they find my feet. Blinded by a reflex, no tongue to speak. I work in the fields, I work in the stores. I catch up the deals, and I'm not the fool. I am an endangered species, but I sing no victim songs. I am a woman, I am an artist. I know where my voice belongs. I bring life about, just and take them back down. My husband can eat his right, they say, and race isn't brave. You say I like it that way. I am an endangered species, but I sing no victim songs. I am a woman, I am an artist. Know where my voice belongs. I am an endangered species, but I sing no victim songs. I am a woman, I am an artist. I know where my voice belongs. Ooh, I know where my soul belongs. Ooh, I know where I belong. Ooh, yeah, yeah,
All right, all right. Again, thank you all so much for coming, for joining, for being a part of this amazing movement. I'm going to open this up one last time for comments and questions, because you might not get this opportunity again. You might not get the opportunity to have your voice heard, your questions answered by our lovely panelists. So again, just one more time before we close. Any comments, any questions? Okay.
I will say I'm glad to see our current national president on this call, Carl Rosen. Good to know you took the time to see how we feel about you, E. We.
Put you on the spotlight. Maybe you should say a few words.
Ron Cavallini, yeah. Good fella, good fella.
All right. Again, thank you all. Oh,
Yes. I'd just like to reiterate how significant this testimony is, how significant UB150 is, and what the women members and leaders have done to make this union such a incredible force in 25, 26, 27 years.
Yeah.
And defying all odds is a union without contracts, but a union nonetheless. It makes a big difference in North Carolina. And
Yes.
big in the UE, a big difference in the labor movement. And it's just it's rewarding to see new leaders and new women leaders, especially coming up in UE 150.
All right.
Carry this thing forward. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Brother
Thank
man.
you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. Oh, and I wanted to tell folk, if you're in Raleigh this weekend, come to our 26th annual Juneteenth celebration here at the Fruit of Labor World Cultural Center.
Oh,
1 to 6 p.m. We're going to do some updates on what's happening in UE too. So
okay.
come on out.
All right.
Thank you all so much. This has been fabulous.
It has. It really has. Yes. Okay.
All right. Thank you guys again for joining. Keep a lookout for all of our social media coming out so that we can again gather, right? It'll be online, but in person too.
All right.
That's coming, right? Just throwing some stuff out there. Okay. You all
Thank
have
y'all.
Thank
Okay.
you.
All right. Good night.
Good night.
All right.
Good night. Ooh.